Jimbo Fisher, welcome to the Seth Davis Show. Welcome back to the Seth Davis Show. You're one of our few repeat guests, so this is it's a big moment for you.
I feel honored. Thank you.
I'm honored, and of course, the first time we talked, you were a couple of weeks away from playing Auburn in the Rose Bowl, and you won. So I'm not claiming credit, but at least I'm not bad luck.
Exactly
You can't
right.
blame me for
That's
anything.
why I came back.
If you'd lost, you wouldn't have been back. But so, how much did winning a championship change life for you?
I don't think it did ball-wise in the everyday life, but it did recognition-wise and notoriety, things like that. I mean, like you say, you want to have greatness, you want to be good, but all of a sudden, remember the things that go with it. I mean, the attention and everything you do is scrutinized, and people know everything you do and listen to everything you say. So I think from that standpoint, just like you tell players, you want to be good, you want to play well, and all of a sudden you get in that limelight, then there's a certain way that everything you do, say, or act on has an influence on other people, and it did do that.
And,
for sure.
and as we were saying before we started rolling here, when you win a championship, you don't have to shave anymore. Is that, or did you look at Kingsbury and say, well, maybe it works for him?
I didn't see Kingsbury. I just said I hate shaving and I always nick myself, so I figured I could just clean it up about every 3 days and be a little better.
I like it. Another thing that happened since our interviews, you turned 50.
Yes.
Now, you got me by a few years. I'm about 4 or 5 years behind you, so give me a preview. How was that? Gets a man thinking?
50 wasn't bad. You know what affected me worse than anything was 30. 40 and 50 did not affect me. I have no idea why, but 30, when I said I wasn't in my 20s anymore, I was young. I guess I already hit that stage at 30 and realized I was heading down the road, so I said, to heck with it at 40 and 50. But I feel as good now at 50 as I did when I was at 30. And I know they say it's in your mind, but I think I'm in good health, good shape, and I feel really revived and feel good.
Sometimes it gets a man thinking, you start doing the math. We're on the back nine here. Is that a little bit of a different mindset for you?
Well, I think it puts things in perspective with your family and things about how you want to wind things down eventually, which, hopefully 15, 20 years down the road or whatever it may be. Or like Coach Bowden would be, it would be about 35. Like he went forever. But, people say, how long do you want to do it? I don't know. But it does put things in perspective about, with your family and everything that way. But coaching, I still feel as young as I ever did.
Good. You obviously have a very special player in Dalvin Cook.
Mm-hmm.
Does he have to have like a Heisman caliber season for you guys to be in the thick of things as far as winning a national championship? Because I know that's the goal.
I believe this. I think any championship team, your star players have to be big in critical moments. I mean, whether it's 2,000 yards or 1,500 yards or whatever, but I think there's critical moments that star players have to really be stars. And there's going to be key moments that your stars have to be stars. I believe that when you win championships. Jameis was like that when we were there before. Devontae Freeman did it. Joyner did it. Telvin did. Those big names in big games have to make those key plays. Now, whether he has to do it every game, I hope not. I hope there's enough supporting cast around that can take pressure off of him when, if teams are putting 8 guys in the box or trying to bunch it up and make us throw it. But I think in big games, he's going to have to show up.
And isn't that the difference between the really good ones and the great ones? The great ones can rise. I've heard coaches use the expression, get to that top shelf in the closet.
They really do. I mean, and the moment doesn't overwhelm them. They embrace the moment. They embrace
enjoy
the press.
being there as opposed
exactly
to being...
right. And I think he's one of them because he did it in high school. See, Dalvin's one of those guys. It's not just, he played in a high-profile high school program, which I think helps. Miami Central. They were on national TV. They were in the national I think they finished second in the country that year. Big games. And I think part of that is translated into college with him. And then coming to Florida State, he knows our expectations and what we do. And I think it's really helped him.
We're going to build them from the bottom up and then back to front.
You play the game to be great. Don't settle for anything else, ever. Embrace the moment.
You gave the green light to Showtime. Follow you guys around. A lot of coaches don't want that kind of intrusion, cameras around all the time, behind the scenes, maybe getting stuff on camera that you don't want to be on camera. Why do it?
Tell me at Florida State what isn't on camera. Everything we do is scrutinized. People know about it. And what I want to do, I want people to see these kids how they really are. I mean, I think the world has an impression that, okay, you got these great players, and they're great players, they come in and just play great. I want people to really see the kind of individuals they are, how hard they work, not just on the field, but in the classroom and in the community service, providing leadership in our community for young kids, mentoring. I want people to really see these guys and I think get a true appreciation for what we've done in our program. And that, it's not just about recruiting great players and throwing them on the field. Everybody's got great players. And that, how we do things, the process we go about trying to develop our kids as people, as students, and then as players, and how they all blend together as one, and get appreciation for what a day with these guys is really like. There is a grind and a lot of hard work.
How much are you going to try to control this thing, though? Because I know that Showtime's not interested in just a big infomercial for.
No, I'm not. I want them to see the real. I want them to see the real experience, and I want the kids out there to see what they'll get when they come to Florida State. But I think for college football, I think it's not just for Florida State. I think for the whole our program, that we have a great conference in the ACC, but college football in general, that what these kids, because I think we think of them being spoiled or given things. I want people to really see how hard these guys work for what they get.
You said recently that in the last couple of years, and this doesn't come to surprise to anybody, that you were contacted by some NFL teams. Mm-hmm. You said one of the conversation was, quote, decently serious. Did that intrigue you?
I'm not saying it always intrigues. I think you always have to listen to things that are out there. But saying all that, I'm extremely happy in college football. I love college football. I love the interactions here. I love all the things that you have to do in that regard. But you never say never in this business, and you always listen.
I just wonder, I mean, Bobby Bowden was there for what, 33 years?
Yes.
I just wonder if in today's environment, any college football coach can stay at one place for that long without either getting the itch or feeling you got to stay a couple of steps ahead of the posse, and that the NFL would intrigue you maybe in that regard, because you're still a relatively young man as far as your profession goes.
And you'll never know challenges. But, I do think staying at one place for as long as like Coach Bowden did, because I think the ability of media today, not that media is bad, but we have such access to everything. And so many people have an opinion now. And back in the day, everyone didn't know everything that was going on as far as what was in a program, people unhappy. And we're in that world of instant gratification. I mean, even though we won a championship, we won, you go win the next one. And they always said that, but if you had 10 wins and you had 9, 10, 11 wins a year, it was a great deal. I don't know if that's the case now. I think it is at most places who have great leadership that understand that. But I think people can be pushed, and I think, and there's a lot more things to gauge in today's world. But saying all that, hopefully I want to stay at Florida State as long as
33 years. Can we get you?
I'll be.
If 33 now. 33-year contract, would you sign?
They sign a 33-year contract. I'll sign it.
Get your autograph here. This is how your name isn't up here on camera.
I charge for that.
You should. So your mentor in this business, one of them certainly, is Nick Saban. Mm-hmm. Worked for him at LSU. Just won his 5th national championship at 2 different schools. What does he know that nobody else seems to know?
I think that what he does, he's a driven guy. And I think Nick is a guy who does a lot of things that other people aren't willing to do. And the everyday grind of things. I don't think there's a secret to what he does. He has a plan, he has a vision. And I think, he's been at 2 places that allow him administratively to provide the things necessary. And when you provide him the tools and necessary things, he is a great mind for developing people in a program and creating a culture there. And he's willing to grind. Nick is a worker. I mean, he is. If you don't like working, don't work for him. But I'm going to tell you, he's a smart guy. But here's the thing, he demands as much from himself or more than he ever demands from the people who work for him. And he's a great guy, and I enjoyed working for him. We had a great time.
Sometimes I wonder, a guy like that, of course he worked for Bill Belichick, who might be the best example of this, is like, yeah, you're grinding and you're winning, but don't you want to enjoy it a little bit? It doesn't seem like he's having that much fun.
Well, when is it fun? When you win. and winning's hard work. I think he does. And I think we all, but I think in any business, whether you were in your business, I'm in mine, whoever's in theirs, when you're young, you're establishing yourself, you know that there's a ton of people who love to be in your situation. You have to grind to get to that. And then maybe as you get older, you start to set back and you're able to compartmentalize certain parts of the year and enjoy it in certain parts of the year, but understand that you got to grind too. And I think that's one of the keys of Nick's success is he is enjoying, but he's able now to not rely, I've done this, I call the relief syndrome of human nature. I've done it, so I'll relax no matter what, I'm still okay. He doesn't have that. And then I think he's able to compartmentalize relief with coming back, it's time to go to work.
So speaking of LSU, a lot of reporting last winter. Looked like they were getting ready to fire Les Miles, that they were preparing to come after you. The Advocate newspaper in Baton Rouge actually reported that there had been, quote, ongoing negotiations, multiple sources. there's got to be some truth to that, right? Was there no contact at all?
I never
Nothing?
had any contact with him whatsoever.
Your representatives might have, any third party?
I didn't have anything to do with him, and that's a shame. And people wanted me to make a comment on it, and here's why I didn't. I think two things. First, it's disrespectful to LSU, because people say, "Well, make a comment. Well, I don't want to go to LSU, or I don't want to go to Georgia, or whoever the school may be." And they've never had any contact with you. Well, they're looking. Why would this? So you don't make a comment about anything. And two, I think it's disrespectful to our season. But I understand where the media comes from, and there's speculation, and people say stuff, and because you guys have sources everywhere that are in all facets of things, and what some guy may want or is pushing for may not happen. You know what I mean? And that goes back to what we were saying a minute ago. The longevity of coaches, and Les has done an unbelievable job. Guy's won over 10 games a year for his whole time at LSU, the winningest coach, I believe, in LSU history. Won a national championship. So, I mean, that's just the world we live in today, and it's things we have to deal with.
And I was going to say, he came this close to losing his job. I think it was probably the university president, maybe Governor Jindal, who stepped in and didn't. And by the way, it would have cost him $17 million to fire him at a school that's really bleeding money and having a lot of financial struggles. I mean, think about Mark Richt, who's now in the league, and the record he had at Georgia. I mean, what does this say about where we are, that guys like Mark Richt and Les Miles are struggling for their jobs?
Both guys do it with class, do it with dignity, have won at the highest levels. But again, it goes back to what I say, the instant gratification, I want to be the champion. Nobody, I got to be the top, I got to be the top. And we all want to be there, but we got to understand, when you're firing a guy who's winning 10 games a year, how much better are you really going to do? You know what I'm saying? How much higher can you really go? But that's the world we live in. And I think there's so many factions into a university. You talk about fan base, and you talk about, say, a board of governors, a board of direct, and you have your board of trustees, then you have an AD, then you have a president. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into that. Boosters. I mean, I mean, there's a lot of factors that trigger in. People don't realize that as a head football coach in college, there's a lot of hats you really have to wear, besides coaching and being with the kids. I mean, there's a lot of different things you have to do. Maybe the multiplicity of things is as great as any job you have in the country.
I mean, to our earlier point, you must look at those situations and feel like, well, they love me now, but it's only a matter of time before they come after me like this.
Well, you know what I remember? And being with Nick's one thing. When it's time to go to work, you better go to work. You better go recruit good players. You better have your program in line. You better get the administration to try to do the things that allow you to become as successful as you can. And also, I think having vision. I think that's one of the things that I always say about Nick too, and I try to do that myself. What's going to be the next thing in college football that gives you that 1 or 2 or 3% edge over somebody else? The visionary of how to develop this part of your program, this part. And everyone thinks it's just the players. Man, it's so many more things. You got to have that ingredient, but then the truly great teams are the ones who get the off-field people, the programs that develop the players, that allow your kids to develop, allow your school to develop, allow your organization to develop, and create a culture for success. And I think that's one of the things that we constantly have to look for. And that's what I'm constantly doing, because I know if it slips, it doesn't matter what you've done in the past. What have you done for me lately?
At least it wards off complacency.
Exactly right.
Jimbo, with satellite camps, are you guys going to send assistants anywhere?
Nope.
Not at all?
Nope.
What are the benefits
We satelliting right here in Tallahassee.
Yeah.
So, satellite camps.
Yes.
It's a fun topic for guys in my business, man. We love this stuff.
You do.
You have all the coaches getting catty with each other, but you're very much against them. I mean, it seems to me, I was pretty moved by the argument that they do give opportunities and exposure to kids and players who might not otherwise have it. I mean, what is your objection to satellite camps?
I'm not objected to it. Again, two things. I really believe for the coaches part of it, of developing those guys for family time, because coaching isn't like it was even 15 years ago. The months of February, going into March and spring ball, and the way recruiting it, you're recruiting 365. There is no player that is not getting observed. Now, the people he can get in front of, and if that's what they want to do, but I think how you process that is very careful. From coaches having to, pay camps and high school guys making money off the camp. I mean, we can't go visit I couldn't go speak at a clinic at a place, but they could go do a camp at a place. Now, I couldn't understand that. And I think, from a standpoint of, you're open Pandora's box. I know it's a very simple thing by the way you just said it, but there are a lot of other intricacies that are going on behind the scenes in this deal, and I don't think I think we're opening a very scary pathway. And tell me where with today in video, the openings, the
internet, the blogs.
There's not a player we haven't ever seen. There's not one out there, and how many guys did they truly sign out of those camps?
Well, I talk about guys.
Now, the small coaches,
Yeah.
where we screwed up in this whole deal, here's where the coaches screwed
Okay.
up. When they incorporate, not just taking the satellite camps away, in my opinion, was right, but not allowing the 1AA Division II coaches say they can't go to your camp. Like if they wanted to come to Florida State's camp and work at the junior college coaches and all that, that used to be allowed. Well, they cut that out with it. That's where we made the mistake. If we would allow them to, I think because that they don't have the budgets to go see everybody and let the guys work Michigan's camp or Florida State's camp or Alabama's camp. We always encourage that and love that. I think we need to keep that. But then without the satellite camps,
Well,
we didn't even participate.
I mean, I talk about guys in my business loving this story because to me, this whole story boils down to two words: Jim Harbaugh. I mean, here's a guy. He comes back to college, swoops in from the NFL in a very short time. Not only is he winning a lot of games and getting players, but he likes enabling guys. He likes kind of ruffling feathers. What do you make of this guy?
But what does it do? At the end of the day, what's he doing? Marketing 101.
Seems to be working.
Exactly right. Michigan was not relevant for a while. He had to get Michigan's got a great brand name. They got a great thing. Now he's gotten them out in the media, and has promoted that and got the name of Michigan back out there. And Michigan's going to win and get play. They've always gotten players. You know what I'm saying? And if that's what he wants to do, that's fine. I'm not. He's fine. He found a loophole, or more power to you. But what he does is not going to affect me. It's because I'm against him. If that's the rule, go right ahead, Jim. I have no problem with that. If that's what makes your program, I'm going to do what we think is best for Florida State. He's going to do and that's what he's doing for Michigan, because I don't think it's just a satellite camp. It's the marketing of getting the name Michigan and Jim Harbaugh and that out there, which that's what this world's about. It's about promotion. It's about marketing and everything we do.
He's a big Twitter guy. Loves to tweet things. Loves to.
I don't even have a Twitter account.
Neil, I was going to say you're the opposite. You're not into this whole social media Twitter.
I think there's a lot of good things about social media. I think there's a lot of dangerous things about social media. And I think it can be a very addicting thing that I think can distract and take away from other things I need to be doing that have to do with success. Now, I think a lot of our coaches do it. And I think there's a communication line there that have to get there. But at the end of the day, when I communicate with our kids, I want to be on the phone. I want them to sit down in front of me and talk old school. I'm a little old school that way. Now, our coaches use Twitter, they use Facebook, they use all those things to communicate kids.
You fine with your players being on Twitter, by the way?
Yeah, I
Some
am.
guys really limit that, or
flat
out don't allow it.
During the season, we try to eliminate. It's kind of been a team thing. Back in 2013, we won the national championship. That was a team thing because what you have to learn to do is soul focus and learn to, we call eliminate clutter, the things that don't matter for a certain amount of time. And there's certain times of the year they do it, and they've always voted to do it. I'll let them decide that. You know what I'm saying? Because there's only so many things you can do in a day. One of the great things about success, and one I've learned too, is priorities. You can't if you want to be successful and great at something, you can't do what other people do all the time. You got to say, I got to do this. There's not enough time in a day. And then if that's something you got to spend 30 minutes a day on, couldn't you be doing something else that helps you win a game?
The other big offseason story in college football this year, not a pleasant one, that's what happened at Baylor. Mm-hmm. You had some sexual assault charges, and cost Art Briles his job, cost Ken Starr his job. And really, I think you'd probably agree, Jimbo, when something like that happens to one school, everybody is kind of cast in a bad light.
You do.
And it just seems to me, and this is not just specific to college football, but we're talking about college football, that college, and you've been through this with Jameis, and Dalvin Cook had a thing last year that he got acquitted for, but it just seems that college football coaches have a hard time getting this right, where you got to hold somebody accountable, and the impression is, yeah, we're going to hold him accountable, we're going to punish him, we're going to discipline him, except if he's a really good player.
No, I don't agree with that. I agree with, I think, not just college football coaches, I think schools being equipped to have the system in place to adhere to the victims and the accused and make sure there's a due process and making sure it's all open. And I think that's the key, which we did at Florida State, and I think which is what I think has to happen. And I don't think it has to do with a star player. I just think because any player's life is definitely worth everything, because everybody's somebody's baby. Everybody's the most important, whether it's the victim or the accused. And I think the victims must have their day, and everything must be taken to them, but at the same time, that's meant due process run its course to make sure we don't convict and do things beforehand. But I think there has to be a process in place, and I think that's where the school itself has to have all the things set up in line to have the procedures go the right way.
Did you make a point to sort of learn about what happened at Baylor? I don't know.
Oh, no doubt.
Read the report and follow the coverage. I mean, what can you learn about that situation to prevent making the same mistakes?
Yeah, when things are brought to you, you report them to the proper authorities. Your Title IX people on campus, the campus police, the local police, and let them do their thorough investigations. Because, like I said, we're football coaches. We're not equipped to do any of those things, and that's what we've always done at Florida State. I mean, the police and the people have always gotten them.
There has been a mass shooting at a gay nightclub in Orlando, Florida.
And investigators say they're not ruling out possible terrorism.
This was an act of terror and an act of hate.
After the shooting at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando,
Yes.
you went to the hospital and you visited some of the survivors. What was that experience like?
Very humbling. I mean, as far as, you know, one of the things I was amazed at, the traumas they went through, not just of being shot, but the whole scene of that whole thing. And the people I went in, I was going there to raise their spirits. They were raising mine. It's amazing the resiliency of people and the things that they can go through, but then also how people do care. Jameis went, myself went, the governor went, and there was other people before that. That was the day we were there. And just how many people truly, it's amazing that once tragedy hits, we all argue about everything in the world. We fight, scratch, call, it's like families. And all of a sudden tragedy hits, we realize how many great people there really are in this world that really want to help and don't want these things to go on. And that also the resiliency of people that are affected by tragedies, how much resiliency and how much the appreciation they had for life was unbelievable. And it just jumped out at me. And it made me also think, you know, when you start to complain about things, man, there's a lot of things in this world that we've got to get fixed, and to people going through some tough situations. But it was amazing the people interacting with them.
You've been very generous sharing the story of your son,
Yes.
Ethan. Who's he, 11 now?
Yes, he just turned 11.
He has a rare blood disorder called Fanconi anemia.
Yes.
How's he doing?
Doing really well right now. His numbers and everything are stable, and, you know, eventually we'll have to have a bone marrow transplant, and he'll always have the disease, but they're making tremendous progress. And the foundation we started 5 years ago, and life expectancy went up over 11 years during that time, and the doctors in Minnesota and across the world are doing a great job, and we keep funding that every year. And the people have been unbelievably resilient of coming back and helping us fund that foundation.
Yeah, I know he's due for a bone marrow transplant. What's the timetable on
Well,
that?
it all depends on his numbers and his blood counts. And right now he's holding steady. He hasn't moved in 5 years. So the longer the better, and it goes good because the advancements in the things we're doing right now, and he's living a normal life. And we're travel baseball and running around doing all the things that we normally do.
I mean, I have 3 sons of my own. My oldest is 12. My middle one is 10. How do you have these conversations with him to explain to him in a way you want to be honest with him? I'm just imagining as a dad, you want him to understand what's happening without making him paralyzed by fear.
Well, I think first of all, when he has questions, we answer questions. And when he doesn't have questions, we don't answer questions. And he understands everything, and he takes shots every night and things he has to do to be ready, and he does it. His resiliency is better than ours. It's amazing. And I think he understands, but, you know, he's just living a normal life. But also we approach it like, you know, nothing's going to get. We're going to beat this thing, in which we really believe we are. And the progress we've made in the last 5 years has been amazing. But we're honest, we're upfront, but we're also very as far as the honesty, the hopefulness of what the future can be and how to fight things. And he's been amazing. He's a tremendous young man.
Well, tell him his Uncle Seth is rooting for him.
Howard, thank you very much.
We're all rooting for him.
Thank you for bringing it up. Thank you. I really appreciate
your
Makes life, puts things in perspective very
sure
quickly.
does, right? Appreciate you, Jimbo.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you,
Appreciate you being here.